Let me tell you something profound. Most people spend more time planning a one-week vacation than they do planning their lives. Isn't that incredible? A week of fun gets more attention than decades of existence. And then they wonder why life doesn't work out the way they hoped. You see, time management isn't really about managing time at all. It's about managing yourself. It's about making a fundamental decision. Are you going to master time, or will you become a slave to the clock? Will you control your day, or will your day control you? Now let's get practical for a moment. I want to share with you some of the principles that have guided me through the years, principles that have helped me make the most of the time I've been given. First, understand that time is more valuable than money. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Once today is gone, it's gone forever. That's why I say that time is the most valuable commodity in the world, because it's the one thing you can never get back. I had a friend once who was constantly chasing the next dollar. He'd work 80-hour weeks, sacrifice his health, his relationships, all in pursuit of wealth. And you know what? He became a millionaire by the time he was 40. But he also became a divorcee, estranged from his children, and his health was in shambles. On his 45th birthday, he had a heart attack. As he lay in that hospital bed, do you know what he told me? He said, "Jim, I'd give every penny I have for another chance. But that's the tragedy, isn't it? Some things once lost can never be bought back." Remember this. Time is the coin of your life. It's the only coin you have, and only you can determine how it will be spent. Be careful lest you let other people spend it for you. Second principle, prioritize. Not everything matters equally. I learned early on that the key to time management isn't to do more things, it's to do more of the right things. The things that move the needle, the things that make a difference, the things that align with your values and goals. You know, in my seminars, I often ask people to make a list of their top 10 priorities in life. Then I ask them to cross off the bottom 7 and focus only on the top 3. Why? Because you can't do everything, but you can do the most important things. And that's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful, the ability to distinguish between what's merely urgent and what's truly important. I knew a young woman once who complained that she never had time to study for her degree. "I'm just so busy," she'd say. But when I asked her to track her time for a week, she discovered she was spending 25 hours watching television. 25 hours. That's more than enough time to earn a degree, start a business, learn a language, or write a book. But she was spending it on entertainment, not advancement. That's why I say, don't spend major time on minor things. Don't spend $10 worth of time on a 10-cent problem. Be ruthless about eliminating the non-essential from your life. Third principle, learn to say no. This was a hard one for me. I'm a people pleaser by nature. I want to help everyone, to be there for everyone, to do everything I can, but I've learned that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Every commitment comes with an opportunity cost. If you say yes to that late-night TV show, you're saying no to early morning productivity. If you say yes to that unnecessary meeting, you're saying no to focused work. If you say yes to that toxic relationship, you're saying no to peace of mind. I had a mentor who told me, "Jim, the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything." I didn't understand it at first. It seemed counterintuitive, but over time I came to see the wisdom in those words. By saying no to the things that don't matter, you free up time to say yes to the things that do. Fourth principle, develop systems and routines. You know, one of the biggest time wastes in life is having to make the same decisions over and over again. What should I wear? What should I eat? When should I exercise? These decisions may seem small, but they accumulate. They drain your mental energy. They clutter your mind. That's why I'm a big believer in routines. When you establish routines, you eliminate decision fatigue. You free up mental bandwidth for the things that truly matter. You create efficiency through repetition. I start every day the same way. I wake up at 5 a.m. I spend the first hour reading and reflecting. I exercise for 30 minutes. I eat a healthy breakfast. I review my goals and plan my day. By the time most people are rolling out of bed, I've already won the morning. And when you win the morning, you win the day. Now, I'm not saying you have to do exactly what I do. We're all different. We all have different rhythms, different responsibilities, different seasons of life. But find what works for you. Create routines that serve your goals and values, and stick to them. Here's something else that's important, batching similar tasks. When you group similar activities together, you minimize context switching. You build momentum. You enter a state of flow. So instead of checking email 50 times a day, check it twice. Instead of paying bills as they come in, set aside a specific time each month to handle finances. Instead of jumping from task to task, focus on one category of work at a time. Fifth principle, invest in your energy. You see, time management isn't just about managing hours and minutes. It's also about managing your energy, because let's face it, not all hours are created equal. An hour when you're focused and energized is worth far more than an hour when you're exhausted and distracted. That's why I'm such an advocate for self-care. Proper nutrition, regular exercise, adequate sleep, meditation. These aren't luxuries, they're investments. They're the foundation upon which productivity is built. I used to think I didn't have time for these things. I'm too busy to exercise. I tell myself, I don't have time for a full night's sleep. But that was backward thinking. The truth is, I don't have time not to exercise. I don't have time not to sleep well, because when I take care of my body and mind, I multiply my efficiency. I get more done in less time. I make better decisions. I show up as my best self. Remember, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And that starts with taking care of the vehicle that carries you through life, your body and mind. Sixth principle, guard your time fiercely. In today's world, there are more distractions than ever before. Social media, email, text messages, streaming services, the list goes on. And each of these distractions is designed to steal your time, often without you even realizing it. That's why you need to establish boundaries. Turn off notifications. Set specific times for checking messages. Use website blockers if necessary. Create a workspace that minimizes distractions. And communicate your boundaries clearly to others. You know, I find it fascinating that many people would never dream of letting someone steal their money, but they'll readily let anyone steal their time. They'll let colleagues interrupt them with trivial matters. They'll let friends pull them into drama. They'll let advertisers lead them down rabbit holes of consumption. But here's the reality, your time is your life, and if you don't guard it, no one else will. Seventh principle, learn to delegate. Now, this was a tough one for me. I'm a bit of a control freak by nature. I like things done a certain way, my way. But I've learned that if you want to make the most of your time, you have to learn to let go. You have to trust others. You have to delegate. Ask yourself this question, is this task the highest and best use of my time? If the answer is no, then find someone else to do it. Hire help if you can afford it. Trade tasks with friends or family. Use technology to automate repetitive processes. I knew a small business owner who insisted on doing everything himself, from high-level strategy to answering the phones to cleaning the office. No one else will do it right, he'd say, but his business stayed small because he was the bottleneck. He was so busy doing $10 an hour tasks that he had no time for $1,000 an hour thinking. Don't make that mistake. Your time is precious. Reserve it for the things that only you can do, the things that leverage your unique talents and passions. Eighth principle, embrace the power of focus. In a world of multitasking and constant stimulation, focus has become a rare and valuable skill. But here's the truth, multitasking is a myth. The human brain isn't wired to do multiple things at once. What we call multitasking is actually task switching, and it's incredibly inefficient. When you try to do multiple things at once, you're not doing any of them well. You're fragmenting your attention. You're diluting your effectiveness. You're extending the time it takes to complete each task. Instead, practice deep work. Set aside blocks of time to focus intensely on a single task. Eliminate distractions. Give your full attention to what's in front of you. You'll be amazed at how much more you can accomplish when you're fully present. I often tell the story of a woodcutter who was hired to cut down trees. On his first day, he cut down 20 trees. The next day, he cut down 15. The day after that, 10. Each day, despite working harder and longer, he cut down fewer trees. Finally, his boss asked him what was wrong. I don't know, the woodcutter said, exhausted. I'm working as hard as I can. The boss looked at him and asked, when was the last time you sharpened your saw? The woodcutter replied, I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I'm too busy cutting down trees. That story perfectly illustrates the folly of constant busyness without strategic pauses. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to stop doing and start thinking. To step back, assess, and sharpen your tools. Ninth principle, learn from your mistakes. Time management, like anything else, is a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. You won't get it perfect right away. You'll make mistakes. You'll have days where everything falls apart. That's okay. The key is to learn from those experiences. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect. What went well? What didn't? Where did you waste time? Where did you invest it wisely? Use those insights to adjust your approach. Continuously refine your systems. Continuously challenge your assumptions. Continuously look for ways to improve. You know, I've been studying success for over 40 years, and I've noticed something interesting. Successful people aren't perfect time managers. They make mistakes just like everyone else. The difference is that they learn from those mistakes. They course correct. They adapt. They evolve. So don't beat yourself up when you get off track. That's part of the process. Just make sure you're learning and growing along the way. 10th principle, remember why it matters. At the end of the day, time management isn't about squeezing more activities into your day. It's not about becoming some sort of productivity machine. It's about living a life of purpose and meaning. It's about spending your precious hours on the things that truly matter. Because here's the sobering truth, one day your time will run out. We all have an expiration date. And when that day comes, what will matter is not how many emails you answered, or how clean your house was, or how much money you made. What will matter is whether you loved deeply, lived fully, made a difference. So as you think about managing your time, start with the end in mind. Ask yourself, what legacy do I want to leave? What memories do I want to create? What impact do I want to have? And then align your schedule accordingly. You know, I had a friend who was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He was given 6 months to live. And you know what he told me? He said, Jim, it's amazing how clearly you see life when you know you're dying. Suddenly, all the trivial stuff falls away, all the petty arguments and meaningless pursuits. You see what truly matters. But here's the thing, we're all dying. Some of us know the timeline, most of us don't. But the clock is ticking for all of us, so why wait for a wake-up call? Why not live with that clarity now? I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something that's often overlooked in discussions about time management, the role of values. You see, effective time management isn't just about efficiency, it's about alignment. It's about making sure your schedule reflects your values. I often ask people in my seminars, if I followed you around for a week and observed how you spend your time, would I be able to accurately identify your values? It's a confronting question because for many of us, there's a disconnect between what we say we value and how we actually spend our time. We say family is important, but we work 70-hour weeks. We say health is a priority, but we don't make time for exercise. We say personal growth matters, but we spend our evenings mindlessly scrolling through social media. Your calendar doesn't lie. It reveals what you truly value, not what you say you value. So take a hard look at how you're spending your time. Is it aligned with your stated values? If not, it's time for an adjustment. Another aspect of time management that doesn't get enough attention is the power of saying no. I touched on this earlier, but it deserves deeper exploration because for many of us, especially those who are natural people pleasers, saying no can feel almost impossible. We worry about disappointing others. We fear missing out. We feel obligated. But here's what I've learned. Every yes comes with a price. And often that price is paid in time that could be spent on activities that bring you closer to your goals and values. One strategy I've found helpful is to use what I call the 24-hour rule. When someone asks you to commit to something, don't give an immediate answer. Say, let me think about that and get back to you tomorrow. This gives you time to consider whether the request aligns with your priorities and whether you truly have the time to do it justice. Remember, saying no isn't selfish, it's strategic. It's about protecting your most valuable resource, your time, so you can say yes to the things that truly matter. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, procrastination. We all do it. We all know it's a time killer. But understanding why we procrastinate is the first step to overcoming it. Often procrastination isn't about laziness, it's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of imperfection, fear of the unknown. We put things off because at some level we're afraid of the outcome. Other times it's about task aversion. We procrastinate on tasks that we find boring, difficult, or unpleasant. Or it's about a lack of clarity. We're not sure what to do or how to start, so we do nothing. The antidote to procrastination is action. Small, consistent action. Break big tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. Set clear, specific goals. Create accountability. And most importantly, start. Don't wait for motivation or inspiration. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. I often use what I call the 5-minute rule. When I'm tempted to procrastinate, I commit to working on the task for just 5 minutes. That's all, 5 minutes. And you know what happens most of the time? Once I start, I keep going. The hardest part is often just beginning. Another aspect of time management that I think deserves attention is the concept of time blocking. This is a practice where you schedule specific blocks of time for specific activities. Instead of having a to-do list, you have a time-block calendar. This approach has several advantages. First, it forces you to be realistic about what you can accomplish in a day. Second, it helps you allocate time for all areas of your life and not just work. Third, it creates a structure that minimizes decision fatigue and maximizes focus. I recommend starting your day by time blocking the next 24 hours. Allocate specific times for work tasks, personal activities, rest, and relationships. Then, as much as possible, stick to that schedule. Of course, life happens and you'll need to adjust. But having a plan gives you a framework to fall back on. Let's also talk about the importance of rest and recovery. In our achievement-oriented culture, there's a tendency to glorify busyness and hustle. We wear our 80-hour work weeks like badges of honor. We brag about how little sleep we get. We answer emails at midnight. But this approach is short-sighted and ultimately counterproductive. Your brain and body need rest to function optimally. Research has consistently shown that periods of rest enhance creativity, problem-solving, memory, and overall cognitive function. That's why I'm a big advocate for what I call strategic renewal. This includes adequate sleep, regular breaks throughout the day, vacations, hobbies, and leisure activities. These aren't indulgences, they're investments in your long-term productivity and well-being. I schedule rest just as deliberately as I schedule work. I have non-negotiable times for sleep, for family, for recreation. I take regular sabbaticals to recharge and gain perspective, and I encourage everyone I mentor to do the same. Remember, the goal isn't to do more, it's to achieve more. And sometimes the best way to achieve more is to do less, but with greater focus, energy, and purpose. Now, I want to address a common misconception about time management, the idea that it's all about discipline and willpower. While these qualities are important, they're not the whole story. In fact, relying solely on willpower is a recipe for failure. You see, willpower is a finite resource. It gets depleted throughout the day as you make decisions and resist temptations. That's why it's so much harder to resist that cookie at 9 p.m. than it is at 9 a.m. Your willpower tank is running on empty. The key then is to create systems that reduce the need for willpower, automate decisions, establish routines, set up your environment for success, use technology wisely. For example, if you want to spend less time on social media, don't rely on willpower to limit your usage. Use an app that blocks these sites during certain hours. If you want to eat healthier, don't rely on willpower to resist junk food. Clear your pantry of temptations and prep healthy meals in advance. If you want to exercise regularly, don't rely on willpower to get you to the gym. Schedule workouts with a friend who will hold you accountable. This approach, creating systems rather than relying on willpower, is what I call environmental design. It's about structuring your life in a way that makes good choices easier and bad choices harder. Let's also talk about the role of technology in time management. Technology can be either your greatest ally or your worst enemy, depending on how you use it. On one hand, technology gives us incredible tools for productivity. Apps for scheduling, task management, note-taking, and automation can save us countless hours. Online shopping, digital banking, and video conferencing eliminate the need for many time-consuming errands and commutes. On the other hand, technology also presents unprecedented distractions. Notifications, emails, social media, and endless entertainment options are constantly vying for our attention. Studies show that the average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes of waking life. The key is to be intentional about your technology use. Use tools that enhance your productivity and limit those that detract from it. Turn off non-essential notifications. Set boundaries around when and how you use devices. Practice digital sabbaticals, periods where you disconnect completely. Remember, technology should serve you, not the other way around. It should be a tool in your time management arsenal, not a source of constant distraction. Another principle I want to emphasize is the importance of continuous learning and growth. The more skilled you become, the less time it takes to produce quality work. The more knowledge you acquire, the better decisions you make. The more you understand yourself, the more effectively you can manage your time and energy. That's why I encourage everyone to invest at least 30 minutes a day in personal development. Read books, listen to podcasts, take courses, attend seminars, find mentors, join mastermind groups. The returns on this investment are exponential. One of my favorite quotes comes from Abraham Lincoln: "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." That's the essence of continuous learning. It's about sharpening your axe so that when you do take action, it's far more effective. Now, let's address another often overlooked aspect of time management, the power of single tasking. In a world that glorifies multitasking, I want to make a case for doing one thing at a time with full attention and presence. Research has consistently shown that multitasking is inefficient. When you switch between tasks, there's a cognitive cost. Your brain has to reorient, refocus, and get back up to speed. These transition costs may seem small, but they add up throughout the day, leading to decreased productivity and increased errors. Moreover, multitasking prevents you from entering a state of flow, that optimal state where you're fully immersed in a task, losing track of time, and producing your best work. Flow happens when you're challenged but not overwhelmed, focused but not strained, engaged but not distracted. So instead of trying to do multiple things at once, practice single tasking. Give your full attention to one task at a time. You'll not only be more productive, but you'll also experience more joy and satisfaction in your work. I also want to touch on the relationship between time management and decision making. Every decision you make, from what to wear in the morning to which job offer to accept, requires mental energy. And when that energy is depleted, the quality of your decisions deteriorates. That's why it's important to minimize trivial decisions and preserve your mental bandwidth for the ones that truly matter. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Warren Buffett has lived in the same house for over 60 years. Barack Obama restricted his suits to 2 colors. These aren't random choices, they're strategic decisions to eliminate decision fatigue. Consider where you can simplify and streamline your life. Can you create a capsule wardrobe? Establish a meal rotation, automate bail payments, delegate routine decisions? The fewer trivial choices you have to make, the more mental energy you'll have for the decisions that truly impact your life and work. Let's also discuss the role of planning and effective time management. Without a plan, time tends to get filled with whatever comes along, usually other people's priorities rather than your own. I recommend a 3-tiered approach to planning. Annually, set aside time at the beginning of each year to review your long-term goals and values. What do you want to accomplish this year? What areas of your life need attention? What new skills do you want to develop? This annual review provides the big picture framework for your more detailed planning. Weekly, take 30 minutes at the beginning of each week to plan your days. Review your commitments, identify your most important tasks, and schedule time blocks for focused work. A well-planned week eliminates the daily stress of wondering what to do next. Daily, spend 10 minutes each evening planning the next day. Identify your top 3 priorities. The tasks that completed would make the day a success regardless of what else happens. Then schedule specific times to work on those priorities. This multi-level planning ensures that your daily activities align with your weekly objectives, which in turn support your annual goals and lifetime values. It's about creating a coherent narrative for your life rather than a random series of busy days. I want to emphasize something here. Planning is not about creating a rigid and flexible schedule. It's about creating a framework that guides your decisions and actions. Life is unpredictable. Emergencies happen, opportunities arise. The point of planning is not to eliminate spontaneity, but to ensure that your spontaneous choices are made within a context of purpose and priority. Now, let's talk about the importance of tracking and measuring your time. As the saying goes, what gets measured gets managed. If you want to improve your time management, you need to know how you're currently spending your time. For at least 1 week, I encourage you to track your time in 30-minute increments. Record what you're doing, who you're with, and how you feel. This exercise can be eye-opening. Most people discover that they're spending far more time on low-value activities than they realized. Once you have this data, look for patterns. Where are the time leaks? Where are the productivity peaks? What triggers distraction or procrastination? Use these insights to refine your approach to time management. And don't just track your time once. Make it a regular practice. Just as businesses conduct regular audits of their finances, you should conduct regular audits of your time. It's the only way to ensure that your most precious resource is being invested wisely. Let's also address the role of habits in time management. Habits are powerful because they operate below the level of conscious thought. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it requires minimal mental energy to perform. That's why I'm such a big believer in creating positive habits around time management. The morning routine, the evening review, the weekly planning session, these aren't one-time events, they're recurring practices that, over time, become automatic. But building new habits isn't easy. It requires consistency, patience, and a strategic approach. Start small. Focus on one habit at a time. Use triggers existing behaviors that can cue the new habit. Create accountability, celebrate small wins, and most importantly, persist through the inevitable setbacks. Remember, Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. They may not seem significant on any given day, but their impact over time is enormous. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. I also want to discuss the relationship between time management and goal setting. Effective time management isn't just about efficiency, it's about effectiveness. It's about making progress toward your goals. That's why clear, compelling goals are essential. They provide direction, they create motivation. They help you distinguish between what's merely urgent and what's truly important. But not all goals are created equal. To be effective, goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, what's often called the SMART criteria. They should also be aligned with your values and larger vision for your life. I recommend setting goals in multiple areas: career, finances, health, relationships, personal growth, and contribution. This ensures a balanced approach to life and prevents the common mistake of excelling in one area at the expense of others. Once you have clear goals, use them as a filter for your decisions about time. Before committing to any activity, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my goals? If the answer is no, seriously consider declining or delegating. Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked in discussions about time management: the power of presence. In our rush to get more done, we often sacrifice the quality of our experience. We're physically present, but mentally elsewhere. We're going through the motions, but not fully engaged. This half-present state not only diminishes our joy, but also reduces our effectiveness. When you're with your family but thinking about work, you're neither a good family member nor a good worker. You're just distracted. True productivity isn't about doing more things, it's about being fully present for the things you choose to do. It's about giving your complete attention to the task or person in front of you. It's about quality, not just quantity. Practice mindfulness. When you're working, work. When you're playing, play. When you're resting, rest. This full engagement not only makes you more effective, but also more fulfilled. I also want to address a common misconception, the idea that time management is about squeezing more and more into your day. That's not the goal. In fact, one of the most valuable time management skills is the ability to eliminate, to deliberately choose what not to do. In his book, Essentialism, Greg McKeown makes a compelling case for the disciplined pursuit of less. He argues that by focusing on the vital few and eliminating the trivial many, we can make our highest contribution in our personal and professional lives. I couldn't agree more. The most effective time managers aren't those who do the most, they're those who do the most important things well. They understand that productivity isn't about volume, it's about impact. So as you think about managing your time, don't just ask, how can I fit more in? Ask, what can I eliminate? What can I delegate? What can I simplify? Sometimes the most deductive thing you can do is to cross something off your list entirely. Let's also discuss the role of energy management in time management. As I mentioned earlier, not all hours are created equal. Your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day, and with them your capacity for different types of work. Most people have a peak energy period of time when they're most alert, focused, and creative. For many, this is in the morning, but it varies from person to person. Identify your peak period and reserve it for your most important demanding tasks. Similarly, recognize your low energy periods and schedule accordingly. Use these times for routine administrative tasks that don't require intense focus or creativity. Or better yet, use them for rest and recovery. The key is to work with your natural rhythms, not against them. When you align your schedule with your energy patterns, you'll get more done with less effort and experience less burnout. Now, I want to circle back to a point I touched on earlier, the importance of values in time management. Your values are your fundamental beliefs about what's important in life. They guide your decisions, shape your goals, and ultimately determine how you spend your time. But here's the challenge. Many of us have never explicitly identified our values. We have a vague sense of what matters to us, but we haven't taken the time to clarify and articulate these guiding principles. Take a moment to reflect on your values. What do you stand for? What's non-negotiable in your life? What would you defend at any cost? Once you've identified your core values, use them as a compass for your time management decisions. For example, if family is a core value, then spending quality time with loved ones isn't something to fit in around your other commitments. It's a central priority that other commitments should accommodate. If health is a core value, then exercise and proper nutrition aren't optional extras. They're essential components of your schedule. When your time usage aligns with your values, you experience a deep sense of congruence and fulfillment. When it doesn't, you feel the dissonance, the nagging sense that despite your busyness, something important is being neglected. I also want to address the role of rest in productivity. In our achievement-oriented culture, rest is often viewed as a necessary evil, something we reluctantly do when we're too exhausted to continue working. But this perspective is both short-sighted and counterproductive. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity, it's an essential component of it. Your brain and body need regular periods of rest and recovery to function optimally. Without adequate rest, your cognitive performance declines, your creativity diminishes, your decision-making suffers, and your efficiency plummets. That's why I'm such an advocate for what I call strategic rest, deliberate periods of disengagement from work. This includes not just sleep, though that's crucial, but also breaks throughout the day, days off each week, and longer vacations throughout the year. During these rest periods, your brain isn't idle, it's engaged in what neuroscientists call default mode processing. This is when your brain consolidates learning, makes connections between ideas, and often comes up with creative solutions to problems. Many of our best insights come not when we're actively working on a problem, but when we step away from it. So don't view rest as a luxury or an indulgence. View it as a strategic investment in your productivity and well-being. Schedule it, protect it, honor it. Your work will be better for it, and so will your life. Let's also talk about the role of technology in time management. We live in an age of unprecedented technological advancement. We have tools that our grandparents couldn't have imagined, tools that, used wisely, can dramatically enhance our productivity. But here's the paradox. Despite all these time-saving technologies, many people feel busier and more overwhelmed than ever. Why? Because for every tool that saves time, there's another that consumes it. For every efficiency gained, there's a new expectation added. For every process automated, there's a new distraction introduced. The key is to be intentional about your technology use. Choose tools that genuinely enhance your productivity and limit those that detract from it. Set boundaries around when and how you use technology. Practice regular digital detoxes to reset your relationship with your devices. Remember, technology should be your servant, not your master. It should expand your capabilities, not contract your attention. It should create space in your life, not fill it with noise.